Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the next to a fulfilling career journey. This next session addresses just this topic. Before I hand over to the moderator, Nidhi, I wanted to do a quick and brief introduction of all our panelists. We have Deepshika Dharmaraj, who's the CEO of Genesis BCW. She's a respected leader in the communication space with over 25 years of experience. Next is Anjali. Next is Ruchira, who's the CMO India for HMD Global. Ruchira leads the marketing portfolio, product portfolio planning, and go-to-market strategy for India at the firm. She has an overall experience of 2 decades and has worked across sales, marketing, and even led a B2C startup. Joining Deepshika and Ruchira is Dr. Ruby Bakshi Khurdi, an award-winning international motivational public speaker, global goodwill ambassador for Switzerland, chairperson for All Ladies League, a charismatic educationist, social entrepreneur, leadership and cultural trainer. We are also hoping to have Anjali Malhotra Nanda join us. She's facing a little bit of technical issues. Anjali is an angel investor and was previously the CMO for Aviva Life Insurance. Last but not least, I'm introducing our moderator for the session, Nidhi. Nidhi is an Indian-born British author, philanthropist, and mathematician, and is settled in London and works as a director for HSBC. With this, I now hand over to Nidhi to take the discussion forward.
Thank you so much, Amrita. Welcome to all the panelists here. We're all looking forward to this, hopefully, interesting sessions on how to prepare for a career marathon. So just to introduce what we're going to talk about, when we are all getting ready to start our career, most of us have long-term aspiration of what we want to achieve, who we want to be. However, what we probably do not think about is what will it take to get there. It is not just about decisions to be made while changing jobs, but decisions on areas we need to strengthen, areas we need to invest in to either be ready to make the right moves or be able to handle the moves we are not ready for. By the time we do realize that our careers are not a sprint, but a marathon, we're probably staring at a mid-career crisis. If you talk to successful leaders, you will hear some common things and some differing views on what it takes to prepare and successfully run the career marathon. A testament to this is our panel of esteemed speakers who are all leaders in their fields with experience up to 3 decades. I'm sure the road has not been easy for each of them, but I'm sure there have been many learnings along the way, which we would like them to share with us today. So we look forward to this discussion and bring forward those learnings and provide some insights into the importance of how to prepare for a career marathon. So without any further ado, let's get started. Maybe we'll start with some questions already that we have. The first one we all can share and provide our insights on. When you began your professional stint, did you have a long-term goal in mind, or is it something that came later? How important it is to have that clarity early on? So don't know who wants to start first. Shall we? Deepshika, yeah, you want to go?
Might as well, if we're going in alphabetical order. So, and the reason I want to start is because I think I'm one of those who never had a clear goal. And I want to share this story. And early on in your career, you do these workshops about goal setting. Where do you want to go in your career? What's your dream? And I would actually sit down and say, I don't know. I have no clue. And I have to be honest, I didn't have at that time any mentor who was looking at my career growth and path. But one thing I knew, and I think that's what is useful for a lot of people, is be passionate about whatever you're doing. I was extremely passionate and I loved what I used to do. Whatever work or job I was given, and even later in life, every role that I took on, I just knew I had to do a good job of it. And then slowly life panned out, and yes, you meandered along and say, okay, this looks interesting and maybe I should try this. And to be honest, in my career, I've tried many different roles. So my not having a very clear, sharp goal allowed me to experiment with different things, be open to change, and be open to saying, okay, where do I go and how do I actually navigate my career? So yeah, in that sense, maybe I think at least at that time I was told very clearly, you have a problem if you don't have a goal. It means you don't know where you're going.
But it's clearly not a problem if you have reached where you have reached.
Yes.
Absolutely. Cool. Anybody else wants to add any thoughts to that?
So I'll add a contrary view here, Nidhi.
Yes, that's great.
And the reason it's a contrary view is because my career has been in very large organizations to begin with, where career planning, goals, templates all exist, right? And I'm sure some of us are aware of that. You'll get that sheet maybe once a year which says where do you want to go, and you're forced to put something down because they want to know what you want to do and they want to know how do they plan around you. I think for everything that I wrote on those goals, I'm not sure that I understood fully the ramifications of it. And that does happen to a lot of us. Mm-hmm. We think that this is what I'd like to do next because that's the career path, right? And this brings me to one of my favorite learnings, really. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit here, which is that a lot of career paths have been designed with a predominantly male workforce. So as a woman, you're putting down that career path, saying, where do you want to go next? But as your journey evolves, you might have completely different stages of how you want to flex between your work, your personal life, right? And I think that is where the conundrum comes, because you may have a goal, but you're not sure that goal is right for you at that moment. And how do you then reconcile the two? And I've seen very often, for example, with Unilever, where I was, it was you do sales, you go into marketing, and then you go back into a sales kind of a role, at a different level. But yeah, and that's a great path. It gives you some of the best learning. But if I map that to where my personal journey was going, it was disaster because I couldn't reconcile the two, So it's been interesting that I've always had goals, whether I like it or not. I've had to write it. But how it followed through, I mean, that's a completely different and a very long discussion.
I think I completely agree with you, Ruchira, and also Deepshika, what you said. So essentially what both of you are saying, yes, you may have goals, but at the same time, don't forget to be flexible because you just don't know what life is going to throw at you. So it's about tailoring, recalibrating constantly as you're going along, right?
Yeah. Ruby, so it's called focus with flex, if I might add. Focus, but with flex. Focus on what you're doing, focus on where you want to go, but remember to flex, because your life.
Very true. I think I am following the mid path. I'm a mix of both what Deepshika and Ruchira said, that yes, from the very beginning, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an educator. So I would teach my dada dadi, I would teach my grandparents, like as a teacher, come in the room, this is the blackboard, and I would teach them all the time because I used to think, why are they always at home? Why don't they go to work? So for me, it was like, I would tell them it's very important for you to be self-sufficient so that you can work and have a good salary so that you can enjoy your life. And at that time, I didn't realize that they are retired and enjoying their retired life. They have worked all the way through. So being an educator was, I think, very clear when I was 3 or 4 years old, starting playing those teacher at home. But as I grew up, things kind of, kept on going in different ways because what we plan, it's always not what it becomes or what we are going to practice. So yes, being an educator was a planned thing, which I worked upon because teacher genes were there in me, even though no one in the family had been a teacher or an educator in the past, but it was like loud and clear shining. But other parts like being an TEDx speaker, social entrepreneur, being a trainer, all these things were kind of not planned. And I agree with Deepshika in that way that I didn't plan anything, it just happened. One thing led to another. And that was just, I would say, it was destined to happen. So things started connecting and it took me from one path to another. So even if I wanted to be an educator, but the connections, the destinations, and the varied things led in such a way that things started working on for a better. And as Ruchira said, we all have to have that performance appraisal, what do you want to do? What are your 4 things that you would like to achieve in this financial year? So we would also do those. And if I listed 4 things or 5 things on that, and I achieved some of them were still hanging. So it kept on going, one thing led to another. This was great. But at the end, it's always what you're passionate about, because I was very, very passionate about helping other people, educating other people. So that opened the doors of being a humanitarian, which was not at all planned or known that I would ever do. But just my teaching was not limited to the four walls of the classroom. It became open and more global. So that was the unplanned thing.
So basically, I think from what I'm understanding, it's more than the goal, it's about understanding the purpose.
Exactly.
Isn't it, right? If you know your overall purpose, your goal can be flexed, but at least you know what you're working towards. Having some sort of sense of that is very useful, because then that helps you and guide your career through. Perfect. Okay, very good answers there. Now, when you look back at your respective careers, what are some lessons you learned that you wish someone had shared with you earlier in your career? Would there be some things like that you would like to share with us? Who wants to go first?
If I could go first on that one, and this actually happened in a session with Indra Nui. She was terrific. She used to have all these sessions with women leaders at PepsiCo when I was there, and she spoke about something. And I wish, frankly, someone had told me that when I'd started out. And what she said is that as a woman, and I think she's been widely quoted on this, your professional and your personal journey will collide, right? It will. Because just when you're revving up to get to that middle to senior management role professionally is when the children, the parents are getting older, etc. And as women, we tend to take on disproportionately that responsibility, and we want to be a part of it. I think if someone had told me that it'll happen, be prepared for it and don't get stressed. Don't live your life with constant stress about how you're going to manage. Get your allies together. Your family, your parents, figure out who can help you, your spouse, your friends, and create a community, because it takes a village to raise children, to be a family, right? So if someone had told me that early, I think I would have lost a lot. I wouldn't have been as stressed. I wouldn't have been as, all of us, we take so much on ourselves. And because we are good at achieving what we do at work, we want to be the same at home. We want our children to be the same. We want our parents to have the best of everything. And I think it just builds up on you. So I wish someone had said that to me very early in the day. I think it would have made the planning in my head much easier, and I would have been less conflicted going through my midlife, as I like to put it, of my career. And the other one, therefore, is that women have a different career trajectory. You probably accelerate later. Don't worry about it. Figure out what those opportunities are, keep learning and keep adding to your skills and abilities. Because if you don't do that, then when that flex time comes, you won't be ready for it, right? So, focus on the long term. Don't worry about the short term. I mean, it's fine. It will be different, and people don't know how to deal with it today.
Totally. So it's okay. Essentially, the point is it's okay. You may not be going there and achieving everything, but that's all right. You don't have to really push yourself to be the best in everything that you do. There's always a trade-off, a balance.
And a career is a marathon. So don't worry if you miss the opportunity tomorrow. You know what? Keep working at it.
Absolutely. You've said my heart out, Ruchira, totally.
And can't agree with Ruchira more, and this was going to be one of the things I wanted to talk about, that women must build a very strong support system around themselves. Because I don't think we can do justice to the multiple roles we have created for ourselves in our lives, right? And whether we like it or not, we do want to live all those stereotypes. We want to be super women. We want to be the best mother, the best wife, the best vice president, or the best friend, or whatever. So it's very, very challenging unless we are able to build a very strong support system. And I think the other one is, if I can add, I wish somebody had told me earlier in life, was don't be afraid to ask for help. Sometimes, we have to be strong, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have grown up with this in your script. Be strong. And if you're a woman, so what? You have to be strong, right? At least that was my script growing up. And I grew up in a house full of women, and my mother always told me that, you have to be strong, you have to stand on your own 2 feet, you can't be dependent on anybody, and so on. But in that script somewhere, I think they forgot to tell me, or I wish somebody had told me, that it's okay to ask for help. and you don't fail, or you don't see yourself as a failure if you go out and ask for that help. And how do you build that help and support system around you? So that for me is definitely stands out. The other second one, which I also think I wish I had told my younger self, is don't be afraid to ask the questions. When I remember still when I was young and a woman to boot at that, and I started I started heading a location for my agency. I was again expected to know everything because I was the lead, right? And you are expected to know what is the right thing to do. You have to have all the answers, and then again you start doubting yourself if you ask too many questions, and people look at you. Don't you know that? I think that was the other thing I learned. And today, 27 years later, I think I was one of those who actually asked a lot of questions. In the early days, I would sort of get, why do you have so many questions? And I think that's what enabled me to learn so much more. If I hadn't asked those questions, if I hadn't sort of had that discussion about what's a better way to do this and can we do it differently, I may not have tried all those different things, and I may not even have learned from all the mistakes that I made. Because active questioning is not just before you're doing the task, but even after you've done a task.
What have you learned from it?
Absolutely.
Totally. So that's great. To summarize, essentially, understand that there's a balance to be stricken. Understand there'll always be trade-offs. Be comfortable with those trade-offs that you would have to make because it's a marathon, right? And then, like you said, Deepshika, it's about asking for help, asking questions. Just be open about these things. Don't hold them into you. Wonderful. Let's move on to the next question. Ruby, I'll ask you that one first. What have you done as an investment in yourself over the years? Has that investment changed or stayed the same over time?
Over the past years, as I said, as I kept on moving up the ladder, the career ladder, things kept on coming up, kept on opening up doors. So I started thinking, like, instead of just teaching, like emotional intelligence, be emotionally self-aware and things like that, maybe it's time that I need to look within as well. Not just, I should be an example of practice what you preach, not just preach for the sake of getting, your bread or earning your bread. So over the period of years, I started investing a bit more on myself because a few years ago, living in Switzerland, it was not easy as a young couple because it was just me and my husband. We didn't have any family support. So I wanted to take a backseat, not be the front runner. So I took a backseat by working 50%. So even though I was the academic dean of a girls' college here, which was a very big responsibility, being under 30, getting that responsibility. So there were a lot of expectations and a lot of, responsibilities that I have to do. So I told myself, you can't do everything and you can't please everyone. So start investing on yourself in a way, give time to yourself, because if your machinery is good, everything is good. But if you are upset or something goes bad, you can't support, you can't do anything. So as I would say young mother at that point of time, I started by and by taking back seats wherever I had to take back seat and investing on myself in terms of saying no. This I developed over a passage of time, because as an emotional intelligence trainer, I always tell all the people that you have to invest on yourself first. Have the connection with yourself first, because if you are self-aware of what are your plus and minus, you will be able to grow. But if you're always in the process of, pleasing others or making sure others are happy, because we women, we wear a lot of hats, hats of a mother, collaborator, president, vice president, whatever role you're playing professionally, then sister. There's so many roles that we play, but in the process of pleasing everyone, we forget to invest those small things, the my time. So I always appeal to all my, especially female, friends, that invest on yourself, because once you're at peace with yourself, everything will follow, whether it's your success, personally or professionally, or relationship with your husband, relationship with your children, because all these things are very, very important. We ignore, in the process of the rat race or in the process of being successful, we tend to ignore these things. So it's very important as a mother, especially if you don't have the support of, the joint family, like initially we had, elders living. So since we don't have that anymore, I always say invest on yourself in a way that you feel strong, you feel content, And only when you feel strong and content, you can develop other things, like train yourself, give yourself those treatments, like, try to have those, whether it's your mind and body, like people say, when you are having peace with mind and body, other things will also
Fall
be
in place.
exactly. So if
Totally.
professionally you need to take time off sometimes, for your training or something that you're great at, but you want to polish, do not hesitate. Don't think that you've reached that pinnacle. I don't see anything. Keep on challenging yourself. Keep on challenging yourself, because the more you challenge, the more you evolve, and other doors will automatically open for you. So that's my
Wow, quite a lot of things you covered there, Ruby. I agree with you. So it's constant upskilling as well, learning, investing in yourself, the mindfulness part of it as well, so that you are comfortable content. Very good. Very nice points there. Anybody else wants to add anything?
Just taking from Ruby's point of being mindfulness, I think it brings me to what I practice quite a bit, especially in my earlier career, was self-awareness. And as we are growing in your profession, and especially if you're a leader, being self-aware of your actions and therefore the reactions it has on other people. And here again, looking at whether you are a young leader or a woman leader, it requires us to be extremely tuned into ourselves. And I'll tell you anecdotally, when we are younger as leaders, we tend to be more aggressive and more pushy because we feel we have to be assertive to make a point. And what happens then over time is, if you're more self-aware, you understand that you don't have to be aggressive and pushy in every situation. Each situation can be differently managed and handled. Each person that you're working with has to be managed and handled differently. And I see Ruby smiling, because what works with one, which could be assertiveness and being, you got to do A, B, C, D. With somebody else, it would be inspirational, motivational, and you have to learn how to do that. And I think you can only do that if you have self-awareness and you yourself are very self-confident. You have trust and faith in yourself, then you will be able to do this. So investing in yourself to understand your behavior better, I think that's a key to not just women, but anybody and everybody who wants to grow in a career. It's extremely critical. And today, of course, there are a whole lot of, you have these coaches, you have the life coaches, and they do exactly that. So I would recommend people who are going to sort of set course for their marathon career, start thinking about, how do I gain better self-awareness of myself?
So Deepshika, just to summarize what you said, who you are, understand that, because if you know who you are, then others will also know how to come to you, how to talk to you, how to communicate with you. Wow,
and vice versa.
And yeah, absolutely. Okay, Ruchira, I wanted to ask you this. During your career, you have seen a lot of change and development in the sectors you worked in. What are some attributes that helped you manage the differences across industries?
Yeah, great question, Nidhi. I think one is constant learning. When I started out, I remember making a media plan for Doordarshan. And now we're doing, just digital plans. So, it's the consumer has shifted, landscape has shifted completely. And then, of course, you move across different industries. Also, I might add, moving across industries is a valued learning for a lot of different people, for anyone who's looking at you as a professional, because they know that therefore you have recalibrated, you've understood the situation, the strategy, the context, and you've come back with solutions in different contexts and environments. So one is learning, I think, constant learning, and being brave enough to say, I don't know. Sometimes it's very easy to go in as a leader and say, okay, I know all about this and I can tell you. It's very difficult. And especially as a woman, and I'm not making a feminist point over here, I think women, when they say, ask for help, sometimes can be perceived as not being quite, on the ball. But don't worry about it. Ask the questions, like Deepshika was saying, be confident in yourself, be self-aware. Equally, like Ruby was saying, invest in learning, invest in yourself, ask the questions. The second thing I think is, don't be unafraid to take risks. That's the other thing, by the way, that I think I wish someone had told me, that take more risks and make those risks, go after it. Don't worry. You might fail. It's fine. For me, moving into technology and a consumer, and technology is a sector and devices, was a risk. I mean, it could be that I had absolutely no passion for a device. I mean, it's like, technology, women, you hear very, very few women in technology as a sector. And for me, that was a risk. But I was like, if I don't give it a shot in a startup and technology, I'll never know. And who cares about how old you are? So I think one, learn, constantly learning. Two, taking risks. Take those risks, take well educated ones, and you'll all
There'll be bigger rewards as well. Higher risk, higher rewards, right? Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, Deepshika, in the ever-changing
Nidhi,
world of
sorry.
yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Aman.
We have a couple of minutes, so if we can move
Wrap
towards a
up?
closure. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry
That's
to play that
no
part.
problem.
Yeah.
It helps me only actually because I have to rush as well. So thank you so much for the panelists. If I have to summarize in my own opinion what we heard today, in very short, I would just say that rise to the challenge of women. If they rise to the challenge of the day that is given to them, we are ready for a career marathon. And the rise, I was just thinking about that as an acronym, and I said R stands for resilience. We need to be resilient. We were talking about that. It's not about the tomorrow. It's about the long term. You're in it for a long term, right? So just be resilient. It may not go the way you are thinking about it to go, but that's it. It's gonna be here for a long time for you to keep tailoring, recalibrating. You will get it there eventually. So stay resilient. E would be innovative. I think we heard about changing industries, taking risks, be innovation, be innovative, self-learning, self-awareness. We covered all those topics that I think I would class in the innovative. S, self-respect. Didn't get a chance to cover that a little bit more, but I think it's very important to respect who you are as an individual, as a woman, because if you respect yourself, others would as well. So that will also drive that confidence, which is very important when you're going about life. And the E, the last E would be for an extra mile. I think, like we were talking about the many hats that a woman wears, there is a lot that we have to juggle, so that extra mile, it's required. There's extra effort that we are always having to put in. But so don't shy away from that. It's hard work if you're going to want to make it to that whole career marathon. But knowing it all, that's what it's going to entail for you to reach there, that's what will make a huge difference. So I would just say, maybe if you want to remember one thing, that would be rise from my side. But I loved having a chat with all of you. Such inspirational women here. Give it up to these ladies for all the beautiful work that you're doing today. And I would like to take a bye, but Aman, over to you then.
Yeah, thanks. So we can take a couple of questions that have come in. So you can go to the Q&A, Nidhi.
I would actually have to rush off, Aman.
Okay, sure.
Do you mind just taking
yes,
from
I'll
here,
take care of it. Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Thanks a lot, Nidhi.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Nidhi. I love that acronym. I will live with it. Nice.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you. Nice
Thanks,
talking to you.
Nidhi.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Okay, so there's a question from Pushpa ji, which is, if support system is not coming or happening, then what?
I think, Pushpa, if I may go first, and I'm sure the other two would also want to answer this, you have to create your support system. I don't know about any woman who's lucky enough to have a ready-made support system around her. You have to, again, it's about investing in that support system, whether it's your family, it's your friends, or even some trusted domestic support help system, right? And we are fortunate, at least those who live in India, we are fortunate to have many options available to us. Even those who live overseas, and I have friends who do that, their friend support system, fantastic. They have it worked out. There will be a mother who will pick up the kids and take them to her house once a week, and then the other mother next week. So it's about investing in and creating that support system. You need to look around yourself. You need to, and like I said, don't be afraid to ask for help. Nobody is going to come and give it to you on a platter saying, okay, this is your support system and now go out there and fly. At least that's
I totally agree with Deepshika. You've got to create it. You've got to make choices actively that help you create it. So you don't have to necessarily move to the bigger house if you feel you can stay in a building or a society which can help you, where you've got friends who can help you that last mile. Investing in domestic help. A lot of us want to haggle over every 1,000, 2,000 rupees. Doesn't make a difference. your career is a longer journey. You'll make all that money back. Get the right help at home so you can go to work and not worry about what's happening at home. I think investing to create it is important. No support system works. You may have the best parents in the world, but they don't know what you're going through. So even having honest conversations and helping them understand where you want their help and asking them is creating that support system. So I think sometimes we want it to be ready for us. We've got to create it, right? And for me, I've been very, very lucky that I found friends who were all in a similar scenario, with similar kids, same age, in the building. And my husband and I, we made an effort to therefore be with them, and maybe give up on a lot of the other nice things we would have liked to have done, because that created a lovely little village community for my daughter when she was growing up, right? So I absolutely, Deepshika, well said.
I agree with both of you very well. Support system is something that we all need at some point of time. And having my family here in Switzerland, it was not so easy because we were on our own and language was a big barrier. We didn't even understand the language of our neighbors. So forget about, creating the networks who would help us immediately. So that was one of the reasons that I took a backseat in career. But at the end of it, what I thought was I created a sisterhood network. I created a network where other women who were having language issues, but who were having similar problems, what I was facing, instead of putting our children in Gardari or creches, we started doing these mother hop things, like if someone is going in the same direction with after school activities, so we would take over. I would be the taxi mom. I would juggle with my career in such a way that others would be helping out. So creating sisterhood network, that's what I first did. And I have and it's running very well. It's called Réseau des Femmes, which is a community of sisterhood, where in the beginning, we didn't even need the language. Someone would say, this time, would show with sign language and things like that. In the beginning, it was a struggle because we were all struggling with the language. But thereafter, we created networks in terms of even helping when someone was sick. Because getting these things are not easy, getting these things here, especially in the village where I live, it's not so easy, and very few people speak English. So it was with understanding the language more, understanding the language of love, and also making sure that telling them I'm there for you. So we have to create such kind of things. And if you can't find one, don't hesitate ever to ask for help. And I think I even I used technology very well with Facebook. I created group of people, region in the same people who could help and deliver food. During COVID, we did a lot of those kind of things. So in creating a community and creating healthy collaborations take a long way, whether you know the person or you don't know. But when you ask for help, as both my, Ruchira and Deepshika, panelists pointed out, never hesitate to ask for help, because if you need help, ask. Other people don't know what you are having, so they will definitely help. Healthy collaborations and sisterhood networks, I call them. They come very handy.
Thank you, everyone. I think a lot of practical tips coming from experience there, so very useful. And honestly, this is one of the most sort of candid conversations I've seen in a panel discussion. So thanks for being very open and forthcoming in bringing your experience for the benefit of everyone. I loved the conversations. Thanks a lot to all of you.
Make it talent.
Thank you, Ruchira.
Thank you. It was lovely to connect with all the panelists as well.
Same here. Lovely connecting, and let's connect afterwards as well.
Sure.
Thanks, everyone. So we will end the session. So do join us for the next session, which is with Juhi Babbar Soni on A Million Happy Stories.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.